Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Science Channel. I'm really glad you found your way here tonight. Maybe today felt long, or heavy, or just full in that quiet way that leaves your mind still humming even after the lights go out. Or maybe you're simply someone who enjoys drifting off to gentle thoughts about the world rather than counting sheep. Either way, you're in the right place. You don't need to do anything now. Just let your body rest where it is, let your shoulders soften, and allow your breathing to slow, as if the air itself has decided to move more gently. Tonight, instead of looking outward toward distant galaxies or faraway stars, we're turning our attention to something much closer, something that's been beside us all along. The quiet green world of plants, leaves and roots, stems and soil. Life that doesn't rush, doesn't speak loudly, and doesn't ask to be noticed. And together, very softly, we'll explore a simple question that doesn't need an urgent answer. Do plants actually think? This isn't a question we're here to solve. It's more like a doorway we'll step through slowly just to see what it feels like on the other side. Because thinking, it turns out, isn't always sharp or fast or noisy. Sometimes it's slow. Sometimes it's spread out. Sometimes it looks like a leaf turning toward the light, or roots easing their way through dark soil, guided by moisture and gravity rather than thoughts and words. As you listen, you might imagine moonlight resting on a quiet garden. You might picture roots drifting through the earth like half-remembered dreams, or a forest breathing together, each tree moving at its own pace, yet somehow in rhythm. Time stretches here. It softens. Nothing is in a hurry, and neither are you. Science tonight won't feel like a textbook. It will feel more like a bedtime story, a collection of gentle observations, told slowly enough that you don't have to hold on to any of them. If a fact slips past you, that's perfectly fine. You don't need to remember anything. Just let the words wash over you, the way wind moves through the leaves without needing permission. If it feels comfortable, you might set your phone down now. Maybe lower the volume just a little so the sound blends easily into the room. Let this episode play without effort, without expectation. And if you enjoy resting here, you're always welcome to return another night or subscribe for future journeys, but only if it feels right. There's no rush. Plants have been here far longer than we have. They've learned patience on timescales we can barely imagine. And tonight, as you rest, we'll gently explore not what plants know, but how they experience the world in their own quiet, steady way. You can listen closely, or half listen, or drift in and out of sleep. Everything you need to do tonight is already done. Plants may not have eyes, but they are always aware of where the light is. Even in complete silence, even rooted in place, plants are constantly sensing the world around them. Light tells them when to turn their leaves. Gravity reminds their roots which direction leads home. Moisture, chemicals in the soil, even the faint brush of a passing breeze, all of it becomes information. You might imagine a sunflower slowly following the sun across the sky, like the hand of a very patient clock, or roots easing downward through the earth, not searching in a hurry, but remembering where nourishment is most likely to be found. Leaves unfold gradually, the way a deep breath opens the chest. This responsiveness isn't thought in the human sense. It's more like attunement, a gentle awareness of conditions, a quiet listening to the environment, moment by moment. Inside a plant, messages travel, not quickly, but patiently. Without nerves or a brain, plants still send signals through their tissues using tiny electrical and chemical changes. These signals move slowly, like ripples spreading across still water after a pebble has been dropped. You could imagine a dim pulse of light gliding through a leaf, or a forest humming with messages too soft and too low to ever hear. Plants speak in whispers of electricity, passing along information about light, damage, or stress. Nothing rushes, nothing panics. Each signal arrives exactly when it needs to, reminding us that speed isn't the same as importance. In this slow communication, there's a kind of calm reliability, as if the plant trusts that time will carry the message where it belongs. Because plants can sense and communicate internally, they also adjust how they grow. A plant doesn't grow randomly, it grows thoughtfully. When light is scarce above ground, energy may be sent downward to expand roots instead. When water is plentiful, growth may reach outward or upward. You might picture energy flowing through the plant like warm honey, drifting toward sunlight or moisture wherever it's needed most. Roots sometimes pause, then continue in a new direction, as if reconsidering without stress or regret. These aren't decisions fueled by desire or planning. They're balances, quiet adjustments that help the whole organism stay steady. Growth becomes a series of gentle choices, made without hurry, without second guessing. Some plants even react when the world touches them. Mimosa leaves fold inward at a brush, like tired eyelids closing for rest. Vines slowly learn the shape of a trellis, wrapping themselves where support is offered. Wind bends stems again and again, teaching plants how strong they need to be. A leaf can learn the difference between danger and breeze. Touch, for plants, is information, not alarm. Repeated movement can change how they grow, making them sturdier or more flexible over time. Nothing here is sudden or emotional. It's learning through repetition, through patience, through gentle exposure to the world as it is. Over time, this learning can begin to look a little like memory. Experiments suggest that plants may remember repeated experiences, responding less strongly when they've learned that something is harmless. You might imagine a plant slowly relaxing, no longer reacting to a familiar touch. Memory, here, isn't a story or a thought. It's more like a fading footprint in soil, or dust settling quietly after something has passed through. Experience leaves a trace, then softens. There's no replaying, no reflection, just patterns that adjust future responses. Memory doesn't always need a mind. Sometimes it's simply the shape left behind by repetition. All of this brings us to a wider, softer idea. Intelligence isn't one thing, it's many forms. Scientists increasingly describe intelligence not as a single trait, but as a spectrum. Different rhythms playing the same song, different solutions to the same problems. A forest, in this sense, might be said to think in seasons rather than seconds. Intelligence may be quieter than we expect. Thinking doesn't always sound like words. As you rest here, you don't need to define anything. You can let go of categories and comparisons and simply allow the idea to settle. That awareness can take many shapes, many speeds, many gentle forms, some of them green, rooted, and patiently alive all around us. Plants speak, but not in sounds we can hear. Instead, they release gentle chemical messages into the air and soil, sharing information about the world around them. When a leaf is damaged or a pest arrives, invisible signals may drift outward like perfume at night, carried softly on the breeze. Other plants nearby can sense these chemicals and quietly prepare themselves. You might imagine leaves sighing subtle warnings into the dusk, or roots passing secrets through the dark soil below. This kind of communication isn't loud or dramatic. It's generous and unassuming. Knowledge shared without expectation. Information offered simply because it might help. Nothing is demanded in return. In this quiet exchange, plants show us that communication doesn't always need voices. Sometimes, it's just presence gently reaching outward. If plants can send messages into their surroundings, it invites us to wonder what happens when many plants live together. Beneath your feet, forests may be quietly connected. Underground, networks of fungi weave between roots, forming pathways through which nutrients and signals can travel. These fungal threads are sometimes called the wood wide web, and you might picture them like silver stitching beneath the earth, softly binding trees together. Above ground, trunks stand separate and still, but below, roots may be holding hands in the dark. The ground is busier than it looks. This isn't conversation in the human sense. It's togetherness without talking, support offered silently. A reminder that connection doesn't always need awareness to exist. Within these quiet communities, plants sometimes appear to support one another. Not all competition is aggressive. A tall tree may shade a younger sapling, protecting it from harsh sunlight. Nutrients can flow through shared networks, like warm tea passed gently from hand to hand. Sometimes, growth includes waiting. One plant slowing itself so another can catch up. There's no emotion here, no kindness as we usually define it. It's simply how systems balance themselves over time. Support becomes a natural rhythm, not a moral choice. And in that rhythm, life continues smoothly, without urgency, without conflict that needs resolving. Helping others raises an interesting question. Does a plant know where it ends and another begins? Research suggests that some plants grow differently when surrounded by their own roots compared to those of unrelated neighbors. Roots may pause or redirect when they encounter familiarity, drawing underground boundaries that are soft rather than sharp. A plant may know where it ends, not through self-awareness, but through chemical recognition. Even roots can recognize kin. This is identity without ego, existence without self-consciousness. It's knowing without naming, a quiet distinction made without thought or reflection. Plants do not think the way we do. And that may be the point. They have no brains, no neurons, no central place where thoughts gather. If awareness exists for plants at all, it's spread evenly throughout their bodies. You might imagine thinking as a slow tide instead of a spark, or a mind with no center, flowing everywhere at once. Different bodies produce different kinds of knowing. When we release the need to compare plant awareness to human thought, something softens. Difference becomes peaceful. There's no hierarchy here, only variation. Because of this difference, scientists often find themselves debating the words they use. Sometimes the argument is about language, not facts. Some researchers are comfortable with phrases like plant intelligence, while others prefer more cautious descriptions. Words drift like leaves on water, meanings shifting as understanding grows. Definitions soften over time. Science, too, changes its mind, and uncertainty becomes a gentle place to rest, not a problem that needs fixing. In the quiet space between words, curiosity can slow down, preparing us to see how plants solve problems in their own unhurried ways. A plant never rushes, yet it often succeeds. Faced with obstacles, plants slowly find their way around them. Roots navigate stones like patient rivers, adjusting their course grain by grain. Vines trace careful maps through the air, feeling for support before committing their weight. There's persistence here, but no frustration. Problem solving doesn't have to feel urgent. Success is measured in seasons, not moments. Over time, paths emerge, shaped by steady movement rather than sudden decisions. In this slow negotiation with the world, plants remind us that progress can be gentle and still effective. As plants solve these quiet problems, they also learn from what they encounter. Learning can be quiet and slow. Repeated experiences may soften a plant's response, just as smooth stones are shaped by water. A plant might relax into familiarity, reacting less strongly to something it has encountered many times before. Lessons settle like sediment, smoothing sharp edges over time. Not all lessons need awareness. Learning here is a soft adjustment, not an effort. It's change that happens naturally, without attention or strain. Some of what plants do, however, isn't learned at all. Some behaviors are inherited. Seeds carry more than future leaves. Inside them, wisdom folded by generations rests quietly. History sleeps inside DNA, shaped by long ago climates, soils, and seasons. Some memories are older than the plant itself. The past breathes through leaves that have never felt it directly. Time becomes a quiet teacher, stretching its lessons across lifetimes, passing them forward without words. This inherited knowledge helps plants respond to danger. A plant knows when something is wrong. When insects feed or pathogens arrive, chemical defenses may activate, blooming invisibly through leaves and stems. Leaves seem to brace themselves gently, not with fear, but with readiness. Defense doesn't require panic. It's protection as calm preparedness, a steady response shaped by countless encounters before. Nothing dramatic happens. The plant simply adjusts, continuing its life while keeping itself intact. Without eyes or ears, plants experience the world through chemistry. They live in a landscape painted with invisible colors, gradients of nutrients, moisture, and signaling molecules. Sensation becomes a shifting balance rather than an image or sound. Plants feel without feelings. Chemistry becomes perception. Experience arrives without emotion, without story. There is presence here, but no narrative to follow it. Just continuous adjustment to what is, moment by moment. All of this leads us gently toward a deeper question. Consciousness may not be a yes or no thing. Some scientists suggest it exists on a continuum, like dimmer switches rather than on and off lights. Awareness may fade gradually rather than appearing suddenly. There are many ways of being present. Not all awareness announces itself. And like a lullaby without an ending, this mystery doesn't need resolution. It can simply hold us softly as we rest and prepare for a quiet pause. Let yourself pause here for a moment. Nothing needs to be followed now, and nothing needs to be remembered. Imagine standing quietly in a forest, clearing at night. Shadows of leaves move slowly across the ground, unhurried. Cool air drifts gently between branches, touching your skin and then passing on. Beneath you, the ground feels steady and patient, holding your weight without effort. If the facts from before begin to blur together, that's perfectly fine. They were never meant to be held tightly. Knowledge here is like mist, meant to soften the air, not fill your hands. You can let it fade, and when you're ready, your curiosity can return slowly to plants as ancient companions, still here, still waiting. Plants learned the art of survival early. Long before thought, there was adaptation. Hundreds of millions of years ago, plants began the quiet work of living on land, facing sun, wind, and dryness with no guide but chemistry and time. You might imagine ancient ferns unfolding beneath prehistoric skies, their shapes simple and patient. While ages passed and worlds changed, roots remained, anchoring life in place. Survival was written slowly, layer by layer, not through planning, but through persistence. Longevity became a kind of wisdom without awareness, a record of what worked, carried forward without memory or intention. Because of this long history, plants live on timescales that feel almost unreal to us. A plant's hurry looks like stillness. Growth unfolds over hours, days, and entire seasons. Time stretches like roots spreading underground, invisible but steady. What appears motionless is often deeply active, just too slow for our eyes to catch. Time moves differently when you don't chase it. In this slowness, there's a quiet peace. Nothing is late. Nothing is early. Everything arrives when conditions are right. Within these long stretches of time, plants keep track of rhythms. Plants know when morning is coming, even before the light appears. Internal clocks guide their movements, aligning leaves, growth, and rest with day and night, with warmth and cold. Some rhythms are kept without counting. Leaves prepare themselves for dawn in the dark, trusting cycles rather than predicting outcomes. There's no worry here, only alignment. The plant doesn't ask what comes next. It simply follows the gentle pulse of the world. To live this way, plants balance energy with remarkable precision. Sunlight becomes quiet fuel, gathered carefully and stored for later use. Leaves act like slow green batteries, charging just enough to sustain life without excess. Plants live on measured light. Energy gathered gently lasts longer. There is moderation here, not abundance for its own sake. Survival depends on balance, on knowing when enough is enough, without ever needing to define it. All of this happens without a central controller. No single part is in charge. A plant is more like a choir with no conductor, each section responding to local cues, yet creating harmony together. Balance doesn't need authority. Coordination emerges naturally, spread across tissues and cells. This decentralization brings a kind of calm. Nothing must oversee everything. Order appears anyway. Taken together, plant systems offer a different model of intelligence. Intelligence may not always think. It may spread like moss, quietly covering surfaces, adapting as it goes. There is knowing without knowing, awareness without urgency. When we let go of labels and expectations, we can rest in wonder instead. Plants don't compete with our definitions. They simply invite humility, reminding us that intelligence can be slower, quieter, and still deeply effective. The problem is the same. The solution is not. Both plants and animals must find resources, avoid harm, and continue life forward. But they solve these challenges in entirely different ways. Animals move through the world, while plants let the world move through them. Stillness and movement become equal solutions, like two rivers reaching the same ocean by different paths. Survival is written in different languages here. Where animals react quickly, plants respond slowly. Where animals flee, plants endure. This difference isn't a weakness, it's an elegance. Life doesn't follow one blueprint, and the quiet strategies of plants are just as complete as the restless ones we recognize more easily. Because of this difference, humans often describe plants using their own language. These phrases can help us understand, but they can also blur the truth. Human words rest a little awkwardly on leaves. Stories are draped gently over science, offering comfort more than accuracy. It's a translation without equivalence. Not everything that sounds familiar is the same. Language becomes a bridge, not a mirror, useful for crossing ideas, but never a perfect reflection of what's on the other side. This is especially true when we talk about emotions. Reaction is not emotion. Plants do not have brains or emotional centers, so feelings like fear, joy, or sadness, as animals experience them, are unlikely in plants. Their responses are calm and chemical, not anxious or dramatic. Action happens without inner dialogue. Stillness remains free of worry. There is something soothing in this idea. Existence without suffering. Response without distress. Calm does not require feeling. Life can continue without carrying emotional weight. So if plants don't feel emotion, how do they handle damage or loss? Damage does not linger. When injured, many plants simply begin to regrow. New leaves emerge where old ones fell. Healing can be automatic, guided by structure rather than memory. There is renewal without resentment, recovery without replaying pain. The past does not echo here. The plant adjusts and continues without needing to process what happened. It's a form of resilience that doesn't require courage, only time. During stress, plants quietly reorganize themselves. Plants know when to save. Energy may be redirected inward, toward roots or storage, like a deep breath taken without panic. Sunlight is budgeted carefully. Growth slows where it must, continues where it can. Not all responses are visible. There is no alarm, only prioritization. Calm allocation becomes a kind of wisdom, one that doesn't announce itself. And when the future is uncertain, plants often prepare in the smallest, most patient way possible. Some lives begin with waiting. Seeds fold time into a shell, resting in darkness until conditions are right. Days, months, even years can pass without urgency. Readiness is not urgency. Hope is stored quietly, untouched by expectation. In this waiting, there is trust, an openness to possibility that does not require prediction. Plants read the world like a clock. Temperature, moisture, and the length of daylight guide when they grow, flower, or rest. Calendars are written in sunlight. Clocks are made of shadow. Timing happens without numbers, without planning ahead. The environment keeps the schedule, and plants follow it with quiet precision. There is trust here, a willingness to begin only when the world signals readiness. Nothing is forced. Nothing is early. Because these signals are shared, entire landscapes can move together. No signal is spoken, yet all respond. Fields of flowers open at once, color arriving like a held breath, finally released. It feels like the land itself is breathing. Togetherness without communication. A collective rhythm emerges, not from agreement, but from shared conditions. Harmony forms without awareness, without instruction. This synchronization doesn't require leaders. Order can emerge on its own. Plants organize through countless small interactions, each responding locally to light, space, and nutrients. Patterns appear the way frost forms on glass, naturally, beautifully, without command. Leadership is not always required. Balance arises anyway. There's serenity in this kind of organization, where nothing oversees the whole, yet everything fits. These quiet systems have begun to inspire human design. Engineers look to plants when imagining resilient technologies, networks that don't rely on a single control point. The future studies the past. Circuits are shaped like roots. Innovation is guided by leaves. Learning from what does not speak becomes a new kind of listening, one that values endurance over speed. All of this brings us back to a deeper idea. Thinking may be a process, not a place. Some scientists suggest that thought emerges from patterns of interaction, not from a single organ. Intelligence flows. Mind has no walls. There may be no single room where thinking happens, only movement, adjustment, response. As this idea expands, it softens. Definitions loosen, pressure fades. Studying plants invites us to redefine awareness itself. Awareness may be quieter than we think. It can be like mist, present, surrounding, impossible to grasp. There is presence without attention, knowing without knowing. Not all presence announces itself. And as this idea dissolves, rather than resolves, it gently guides us forward toward a pause, a soft space where nothing needs to be decided. Let everything soften a little more now. You don't need to follow anything that's being said. If your thoughts loosen and drift apart, that's exactly right. Imagine moonlit leaves barely moving, just enough to remind the night that they're there. Clouds pass overhead without sound, without effort. Your body feels heavy and safe, supported completely, as if the ground itself has decided to hold you. You might feel like you're sinking, or floating, or somewhere gently in between. There's nothing to listen for, and nothing to understand. Plants share this same quiet night with you, still, patient companions, resting alongside you in the dark. Plants keep time, even in the dark. Like animals, they follow internal clocks that guide daily rhythms of activity and rest. Leaves may fold themselves inward at night, as if settling down to sleep. Inside the plant, clocks tick without sound, marking hours without awareness. Night becomes a shared agreement between the plant and the world around it. This is timekeeping without thought, rhythm without reflection. The plant doesn't know what time it is. It simply moves with it, steady and reliable. When night arrives, stillness does not mean inactivity. Even stillness is busy. At night, plants shift their internal processes, reorganizing energy and preparing quietly for the day to come. You might imagine leaves exhaling after a long day of sunlight, letting go of what's no longer needed. Rest becomes productive, not as effort, but as preparation. There is no guilt in this rest. Nothing is being wasted. The plant trusts that slowing down is part of staying alive. Plants don't just sense light, they sense darkness too. Darkness speaks. The absence of light becomes information, guiding growth and rest. Night presses gently on leaves, and shadow turns into data. Absence can be informative. Emptiness becomes a presence of its own. In this way, darkness isn't something missing. It's something felt, something responded to, something that belongs. Across days and seasons, plants continue to adjust. Adaptation is continuous. Strategies shift slowly as conditions change. More water here, less light there. These are course corrections without drama, gentle steering rather than sharp turns. Flexibility becomes strength. Adjustment never stops, but it never overwhelms either. Change arrives softly, and the plant moves with it. All of this happens without self-reflection. Something can notice without knowing it notices. Plants may register changes without having a sense of self at all. There are no mirrors turned inward, no inner voice narrating experience. Presence exists without identity. Awareness does not have to turn inward to be real. Existence unfolds without inner dialogue, calm and uncomplicated. Because of this, Plants live without anxiety about the future. Plants do not worry about what comes next. They respond only to what is here now. Growth happens without expectation. Tomorrow arrives on its own. This presence without fear offers a quiet comfort. As you rest, you can borrow this way of being, meeting the moment gently, letting the future wait until it's ready to arrive. Response is not distress. While plants respond constantly to changes in their environment, heat, cold, wind, drought, they do not experience stress the way humans do. There is no inner tension, no mental strain layered on top of the response. You might picture wind bending a branch without pain, the movement smooth and temporary. Change does not have to hurt. Action can happen without suffering. This distinction is quietly comforting. Reaction can be peaceful. The plant adjusts, then continues, without carrying the experience forward as emotional weight. This calm response is possible because plant resilience is built directly into their structure. Plants survive by spreading risk. Instead of relying on one vital organ, they grow many leaves, many roots, many points of growth. Flexibility matters more than rigidity. Strength comes through distribution. When part of a plant is damaged, other parts continue. There is strength without hardness here, durability shaped through gentleness. Bending, rather than breaking, becomes the rule. This resilience stretches across generations. Plant life is often defined by continuity rather than individuality. Many plants propagate clonally, sending up new shoots that are genetically identical to the parent. Forests can become one long breath, identity stretched across distance. Where does one plant end? The boundary is difficult to draw. Life flows without clear edges. Continuity matters more than separation. Because of this, plants quietly challenge human ideas of the self. The self may be less solid than we think. In plant life, agency exists without intention. Selves overlap like shadows, boundaries softened rather than enforced. Life doesn't always draw lines. There is comfort in these blurred edges, a sense that separation may not be as absolute as it feels. Plants also don't seek meaning. No goals, no plans. They simply continue. Growth unfolds without ambition. Existence happens without explanation. Plants respond to conditions as they arise, without asking why. This lack of narrative can feel deeply restful. Life does not need a purpose to keep going, and there is comfort in this non-reflective existence. Watching plant life often calms us because nothing is being evaluated. There is nothing to prove. Being does not have to turn into becoming. Awareness exists without worry, like a still pond reflecting the sky without effort. This can be a gentle reassurance as you rest. Existence itself can be enough. No plant lives alone. Plants exist in constant relationship with microorganisms, bacteria, and fungi that gather around roots and leaves. These invisible partners influence how plants grow, gather nutrients, and stay healthy. Beneath the surface, root neighborhoods form, alive with quiet cooperation. Life layers itself upon life, interconnected in ways we rarely notice. Interdependence here is not fragile. It is calm and continuous. Roots even shape who gathers around them. Plants release compounds into the soil that influence which microbes stay nearby. Roots choose their company without choosing. Community is cultivated slowly, through presence rather than control. Invitations are sent through the soil, and neighborhoods form over time. There is selection without awareness, influence without planning. Simply being changes things. Influence does not require intention. A tree's shade cools the ground beneath it. Leaves slow the wind. Roots hold soil in place. Presence becomes impact, quietly reshaping surroundings. Influence without effort is a gentle idea to rest with. Nothing needs to be pushed. Effects arise naturally. When we widen our view, entire ecosystems begin to look like responsive networks. Some scientists describe them as systems that think together, not as individuals, but as webs of cause and effect. The system responds. Balance emerges everywhere at once. Intelligence appears without a thinker. No single mind is required. Letting the idea widen like this can soften the need to locate intelligence in one place. Plants sit at the foundation of this network. Everything stands on green. Nearly all terrestrial life depends on plants, directly or indirectly. They are the quiet scaffolding of the planet, offering support without recognition. Life rests on leaves. Gratitude here doesn't need obligation. It can simply exist, warm and unspoken. And in all of this, plants remind us that intelligence isn't always obvious. Some wisdom is green and still. Intelligence can be like fog, present without edges, guiding without display. Not all intelligence announces itself. As this idea settles, it gently prepares the way for rest, for letting attention drift downward, and for the quiet closing ahead. Everything is very quiet now. This is the deepest part of the night, when thoughts drift far apart and don't feel the need to come back together. You might imagine a forest just before dawn, but still wrapped in darkness. The air is cool. Dew settles gently on leaves, one drop at a time, without sound. Your breathing continues on its own, steady and uncounted, rising and falling like it knows exactly what to do. There is nothing new here, and nothing ending either. It's perfectly fine to sleep now, perfectly fit to drift. Plants remain nearby, silent and patient, not teaching with words, only showing what it means to rest by continuing to be. Waiting can be powerful. Patience keeps plants alive. Much of plant survival depends not on action, but on stillness. Buds hold themselves closed through cold seasons. Roots pause in dry soil, conserving what little energy they have. Stillness becomes a strategy. There is no impatience here, no counting of days. Waiting happens without tension. Time is allowed to pass until conditions change, and only then does growth resume. Rest is not a failure to act. It is part of acting wisely. Some plants take this patience to extraordinary lengths. Certain trees and plant colonies live for hundreds, even thousands of years. Time circles their trunks again and again. Generations pass beneath their branches. coming and going while the plant remains. Life outlasts stories. Some plants remember more years than we can imagine, though not as memories, just as continued presence. This is longevity without identity, endurance without a sense of self. Time moves on, and the plant stays. Plants experience time without remembering it. Seasons pass like waves, arriving and leaving without leaving a trace behind. Time touches the plant, then moves on. There is presence without timeline, no past to carry. Nothing is replayed. This absence of memory offers a gentle relief. Life does not accumulate weight. Each moment stands on its own, complete and unburdened. Much of this endurance comes from simplicity. Simple rules, lasting results. Plant systems rely on a few basic instructions repeated endlessly. Grow toward light, seek water, respond to change. Simple patterns repeat, and from them, complexity emerges. Nothing extra is needed. Simplicity becomes comfort. Calm beginnings lead to effective outcomes again and again, without complication. Plants also live in continuous relationship with their surroundings. A plant is its environment. Leaves are shaped by wind. Roots are shaped by stone and soil. There is no separation, only interaction. Life is molded by context, moment after moment. Belonging happens naturally, without boundaries to defend. In this way, plants offer a model of peaceful existence. Nothing to achieve, no one to compare against. Growth unfolds without competition. Presence exists without pressure. Being happens without effort. As your rest deepens, you can let this model remain with you gently, not as a lesson to follow, but as a quiet companion through the night. Everything feels slower now, as if you're drifting just before sleep fully arrives. Imagine a dark room with a single window, the night resting gently against it. Outside, leaves are barely visible, only suggested by shadow. Inside, the steady weight of blankets settles you in place, warm and secure. Nothing else is coming that needs your attention. Nothing will interrupt this quiet. The words can soften. The meaning can fade. You are safe here. You can rest deeply now, letting the moment carry you forward, as gently as a lullaby, with no melody at all. Plants may notice the world trembling. Some studies suggest that plants respond subtly to vibrations, including those caused by sound, though scientists remain careful and cautious in their interpretations. You might imagine sound waves brushing past leaves, vibrations falling like gentle rain. There is movement without hearing, sensation without interpretation. The plant does not listen, yet it responds. The world touches it through motion, and something quietly adjusts. Vibration leads naturally to one of the most constant signals plants experience: gravity. Down is known without thinking. Gravity guides quietly, telling roots which way to grow and stems which way to rise. Roots trust downward. Shoots reach upward without doubt. Direction happens without decision. There is a deep certainty here, one that does not need confirmation or correction. Orientation unfolds effortlessly, moment by moment. This sense of direction extends into space itself. Plants know where they are, not through sight or maps, but through feeling. Leaves stretch away from shade. Roots navigate crowded underground spaces, sensing neighbors and obstacles nearby. Space is felt, not seen. Awareness arrives without imagery. The plant adjusts its shape based on what surrounds it, responding to presence rather than measuring distance. Though plants often appear still, movement is constant. Stillness is an illusion. Everything is always moving, just very slowly. Cells expand, stems lengthen, leaves tilt by fractions of a degree. If we could watch a forest in time lapse, it would breathe and sway like a living tide. Growth becomes a form of motion, nearly invisible, but always present. Movement is quiet life. And within this movement, plants show agency without desire. Rivers shape land without intention. Plants act in ways that affect outcomes, but they do not want anything. There is action without wanting, effect without choice. Growth happens because conditions allow it, not because something is sought. This offers a release from craving, a reminder that influence does not require longing. Because of this, plants exist entirely outside human moral categories. They are beyond praise or blame. Growth happens without judgment. Existence unfolds without evaluation. Life continues without labels. They simply are. In this moral quiet, there is rest. Nothing needs to be judged. Nothing needs to be improved. Being, on its own, is enough. Everything feels lighter now, as if you're hovering just above sleep, not quite drifting, not quite here. Imagine fog moving slowly across an open field, soft and unhurried. Shapes lose their edges. The world becomes gentle and blurred. You may feel as though you're floating rather than lying down, supported without effort. There's nothing to follow, nothing to understand. The words can repeat and soften like a quiet echo. It's safe to let go, safe to rest. Nothing more is required of you now. Just this calm, this ease, this quiet suspension before sleep. Nothing is in charge. Plants have no central point of control, no single place where decisions are made. Instead, their functions are spread throughout their bodies. It's like a choir without a conductor, each voice responding to what it hears nearby. Decisions happen everywhere at once, guided by local conditions rather than commands. Order appears without leadership. Balance settles in naturally. This decentralization creates a sense of calm. Nothing must oversee everything for life to continue smoothly. Because of this, plants are remarkably hard to destroy. There is no single failure point. Life is spread thin and wide, like many candles instead of one flame. Damage to one part rarely ends the whole. New growth can emerge elsewhere. Survival happens through redundancy, through having many ways to continue. Life distributed survives longer. There is safety in dispersion, a quiet reassurance built into the structure itself. Plants also change gradually. Nothing happens all at once. Responses unfold slowly, like tides rather than waves. Adjustments resemble breathing. Gentle, continuous, almost unnoticed. Change arrives gently. There is no shock, no sudden shift. Over time, these small changes add up, guiding the plant into better balance with its surroundings. Gradualness becomes peace. All of this adjustment remains anchored in the present moment. Only this moment exists. Plants respond to what is happening now, not to imagined futures or remembered pasts. There is no anticipation, no regret. Presence stands on its own. Now is enough. This way of being, entirely rooted in the present, offers a deeply soothing model of existence. Perhaps this is why humans often find calm in observing plant life. Green quiets the mind. Eyes rest on leaves and branches, and thoughts slow like sap moving through a tree. Attention softens. Nothing asks to be solved. Observation itself becomes rest, a gentle easing of mental effort. Plants offer lessons without teaching. Nothing is being taught, and yet something is learned. Through simple presence, plants guide us back toward stillness. They don't instruct or demand. They simply exist quietly. And as you rest, these lessons don't need to be remembered. They can fade naturally into sleep, just like the sound of these words. Every breath carries a green history. Through photosynthesis, plants have been quietly shaping the air for hundreds of millions of years. Leaves inhale carbon dioxide and release oxygen, renewing the atmosphere slowly, steadily. You might imagine leaves exhaling into the night, the air being gently refreshed without sound. Breathing becomes something shared between worlds, human lungs rising and falling alongside forests and fields. This is connection without awareness, support without acknowledgement. Plants do not know they are sustaining us, and yet they do, continuously. In doing so, plants also help regulate the planet's climate. Forests cool the air the way shade cools skin. Leaves release moisture as soft sighs, influencing humidity and rainfall. Vegetation shapes temperature and weather patterns in subtle ways, holding balance quietly. Plants help the planet stay comfortable. Climate is softened by green. This care has no intention behind it. It happens simply because plants are present, growing, breathing. Plants sustain life without knowing they do. They form the foundation of ecosystems, laying support beams that are grown, not built. Life is held quietly, without caretakers aware of their role. There is relief in this idea. Support without responsibility. Plants do not feel burdened by what depends on them. They simply continue, and life organizes itself around that continuation. Still, human curiosity often stretches beyond what plants can answer. Some questions stay open. Scientists continue to study plant awareness, signaling, and behavior, but many mysteries remain. Science becomes patient listening. Questions drift unanswered. Not everything resolves. And that's not a failure. It's a space left intentionally open. Not knowing can be deeply calming. You don't need to know. Loose ends drift softly, like mist thinning in the morning air. Curiosity no longer pulls or tugs. Wonder exists without weight. There is permission here to stop searching, to let questions rest. Plants continue whether we understand them or not. Forests grow unseen. Fields green themselves without witnesses. Life goes on quietly. No audience is required. Existence does not wait for interpretation. And as this thought settles, it gently carries us downward toward rest. Plants do not seek recognition or reward. Growth happens without applause. Leaves unfold unseen. Nothing is being achieved in the way we usually measure success. There is growth without reward, movement without scorekeeping. This freedom from evaluation allows life to unfold simply, without pressure. Plants also never compare themselves to others. No one is ahead or behind. Each leaf follows its own light. There is no hierarchy, only placement. Difference exists without judgment. This idea can feel deeply restful. Nothing needs to be measured against anything else. Only here, only now. Much of the calm we associate with plants is something we bring ourselves. Emotional quiet is a human interpretation. The calm is yours. Stillness reflects back like moonlight on water. Plants do not generate peace, but they make space for it to arise in us. Plants reflect what we bring. Watching plants can slow human thought patterns. Your mind slows with the leaves. Thoughts stretch out, lengthening to match growth. The nervous system relaxes in the presence of slow, non-threatening movement. Stillness is contagious. Attention softens without effort, and thinking begins to loosen its grip. Plants become companions in this stillness, company without conversation. They share space without interruption, without demand. Green company fills rooms and landscapes gently. Never alone, never crowded, just presence, steady and quiet. Gratitude toward plants does not need words. No thanks are required. Appreciation can be silent, felt as warmth, as noticing, as a soft awareness. Gratitude doesn't need to be expressed to exist. And as that quiet appreciation fades, it blends easily into rest, preparing the way for the final descent. The room grows quieter now. Everything slows, soft, safe. Your breath rises and falls on its own, without help, without thought. Slow, soft, safe. The bed holds you completely, as if it knows exactly how to carry your weight. Nothing more is coming. Nothing will be asked of you. You don't need to listen closely. You don't need to remember. Long pauses stretch gently between moments. Slow, soft, safe. This is the last edge of awareness, where sleep is already nearby, waiting patiently for you to let go. No voice inside. Plants exist without inner dialogue, without thoughts narrating what is happening. Inside green tissue, there is silence. Growth happens without commentary. Action unfolds without opinion. There is no inner monologue, questioning, or judging. This silence is not empty. It is peaceful. Nothing needs to be explained. Nothing needs to be said. Silence within becomes rest. Plants also never replay the past. Nothing is replayed. Leaves fall without memory. Yesterday dissolves completely. Experience leaves traces only in structure, not in thought. There is no revisiting, no rumination. The past is gone as soon as it passes. This absence of memory offers relief. Nothing lingers. Nothing needs to be processed again. And plants never imagine the future. No future imagined. Tomorrow arrives unannounced. Growth unfolds without expectation. Time moves forward naturally, without worry about what comes next. Only what is exists. This complete presence is a deep invitation to rest. There is no anticipation pulling attention forward. No fear waiting ahead. Plant life is entirely non-judgmental. Nothing is good or bad, just happening. Leaves do not evaluate themselves. Growth is not compared. Existence continues without critique. This release from judgment creates peace. Nothing needs to be improved. Nothing needs to be corrected. Peace does not require understanding. You don't have to understand how plants work or what intelligence means to feel calm. Peace comes first. Knowledge can fade. Calm arrives uninvited and settles anyway. This is permission to stop thinking, to let curiosity rest. Plants remind us that rest is natural. Rest is built in. Leaves close at night. Growth pauses. Nothing must be done to earn this slowing. Life includes rest by design. And as you follow this rhythm now, you can let yourself sleep, knowing that rest is already allowed. Nothing grows all the time. Plant life moves in gentle cycles of activity and rest, growth and pause, renewal and release. Seasons turn like a slow wheel. Leaves emerge, stretch into the light, then rest, then return again in new forms. Effort is always followed by ease. Pause is part of the pattern, not a mistake or interruption. Rest becomes rhythm. In these cycles, nothing is rushed and nothing is delayed. Everything arrives when it's ready. Plants also let go without resistance. Nothing is held too tightly. Leaves drift downward when their time is done. Flowers fade without grief. Change happens without clinging. There is no struggle against what must fall away. Letting go is natural. This quiet release offers a comforting lesson. Endings do not need to hurt. They can be gentle, even beautiful, preparing the way for stillness. Stillness itself is a natural state for plants. Much of plant life appears quiet and unmoving. Fields at dusk rest in wide silence. Motion slows beyond notice. Yet inside this stillness, life continues. Cells shift. Energy flows. Life rests inside stillness without disappearing. Stillness becomes safety, not absence. Silence, too, is never empty for plants. Silence is full. Even without sound we can hear, plants operate continuously. Activity hides inside quiet. Roots grow, leaves adjust. Life hums softly beneath the surface. Quiet things are still working. Silence becomes comfort, not void. Plants also do not resist the night. Darkness belongs. Leaves accept nightfall without fear. Darkness arrives gently, welcomed as part of the cycle. There is trust here, trust that light will return. Night is not an enemy. It is a necessary companion. You can welcome it too. And while you sleep, plant life continues. Roots work in the dark. Growth unfolds unseen. Life keeps watch quietly. The world keeps going. You are safe to sleep. Plants do not need our attention to exist. Forests grow unseen. Fields thrive far from people. Life continues without witnesses. Nothing depends on you right now. The world is holding itself. This realization allows responsibility to loosen its grip. You can rest. Watching plants reminds us that letting go of control is deeply restful. You don't have to manage anything. Growth happens without steering. Gravity can be trusted. Ease replaces effort. Things unfold on their own. This surrender invites complete relaxation. Plants also offer quiet permission to rest. Rest needs no reason. Leaves remain where they are. Growth pauses. Night becomes shelter. You are allowed to stop. Nothing more needs to be done. This reassurance settles gently, like a blanket. In the end, the question isn't whether plants think, but how we listen. The question grows quieter. Curiosity softens into calm. Listening happens without expecting sound. Answers are no longer required. Listening is enough. The question dissolves into quiet. And now, there's nothing left to explore. Nothing left to consider. The night has done its quiet work, and so have you, by simply being here, by listening, by allowing your mind to soften and your body to rest. Imagine a quiet forest under the stars, leaves slowly closing for the night, branches still, roots steady in the dark. Breath moves in and out, syncing naturally with the silence around you. No effort is required. The world continues gently on its own. You don't need to remember anything you've heard. You don't need to hold on to any ideas or questions. Curiosity can rest now. Thought can drift. Awareness can fade. Everything important will continue without your attention. Plants will keep growing quietly through the night. Forests will breathe. Fields will wait for morning. And you can sleep, knowing that life is steady, patient, and already taking care of itself. If you find yourself here again another night, this space will still be waiting for you. There's no need to hurry back. No need to decide anything now. Just rest. Let your breathing slow. Let your body grow heavy. Let sleep arrive in its own time, softly, gently, naturally. Good night.